Hello, everybody. Welcome to the MudRoom, our weekly free and live uncommon sense parenting class. How is everybody doing? August is almost over, y'all. It is very nearly done. There's almost no more to it. I can hardly believe it. It feels like summer has gone by so fast, so incredibly fast. So, just real quick before we dive in here, let me introduce myself. My name is Allana Robinson, and I am a parenting effectiveness coach. I help parents just like you of toddlers and preschoolers understand why their children are misbehaving and how to fix it without yelling, shaming, or using time outs. So, I know for many of you, your preschool and kinder kids are already back at school. And for those of you on the other side of the globe, you're actually ramping up to your summer holidays. But here in Ontario, where I am, we are 1 week away from back to school, or at least most of us are. The French board's already gone back. Hey, Maylin! Great seeing you. I'm so glad you finally made it. So I thought this would be a great chance to share some of my very hard-won back-to-school tips after 10 years as an early interventionist and now going on 6 years as a mom. And for those of you whose children have already gone back, maybe this can help you troubleshoot some issues that you may or may not have been having. I am all about reducing stress, reducing energy expenditure. So that's what all these tips are about, finding ways to reduce stress for you and for your kiddos. So first things first, label everything. Buy the biggest pack of labels that you can afford and stick those suckers on anything that is going to leave your house, including their underwear. Okay? Everything. Think about it, y'all. You're asking 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-year-olds to keep track of everything that they need on a daily basis. It's just not going to happen. Like, you can have the most optimistic view, but it is not going to happen. Their working memory skills are still pretty darn brand new. Their organizational skills are still pretty freaking new. And those are two of the skills that I find, after having coached hundreds of parents through supporting their child's skill development, those are the most often overlooked and rather weak, specifically because they don't generally cause us problems until our children leave our constant care. Personally, my favorite brand of labels is Oliver's Labels if you're looking for a recommendation. And a very quick tip about labels, pick a color and make all of them that color. I know the cute icons are adorable and super cute, and it's like fun to have an assortment of colors, but your child can't read. They need to be able to identify their shit by sight. And the easiest way to do that is by color coding stuff. My oldest's favorite color is red, so all of his labels are red. They also don't say his first name. They just say his last name because I have 2 boys and I don't want to be relabeling stuff every year when it gets handed down. So last name, phone number. The secondary benefit of having your number on everything is that if your child ever gets lost, they have like 10 different places on their body that they can indicate to look for their number to call you. Last time my big one got turned around, someone asked him if he knew his phone number, and he does. But he was like, I'm stressed. So I can't remember, but it's in my shoe. And sure enough, it was because I'd labeled his shoes. Hey, Lauren. Hey, Laura. Lauren says she labeled her son's extra underwear and her husband thought she was nuts. No, absolutely not. Anything that's leaving my house, it has a label, maybe 2 of them on it. Like, it's not even his extra underwear. I've labeled his actual underwear because, they go, especially like my kids, we're in Canada, right? So my kids go to school, and if, your snow pants spring a leak, or if there's a fire drill and you get wet down to your skivvies, you're not going to be walking around in wet gitch all day. So they're going to come off, you're going to put the extras on, and then what happens if the originals get lost? So I literally have labels on everything. Everything. If it's going to leave my house, it's got a label. Lauren Hale says their shit. Yeah, you must be new around here. I swear. Get used to it. So that's tip number 1. Label everything that leaves your house, okay? Make it the same color, put their last name and your phone number on them so that you do not have to relabel things every frickin' year. Tip 2 is bento boxes, okay? I don't know if y'all are on this train yet, but if you're not, get on. If your child has to bring their own snacks or their own lunch, I strongly suggest getting a bento box. I know some of them can seem kind of pricey, but there really is one for like every single budget. You can get them at like Target, Canadian Tire, everywhere that sells, Walmart, anywhere that sells, kids' lunch stuff, they've got some form of bento box. My personal favorite, as a mom, is the Planet Box Rover, which is one of the more pricey ones, but it's simply because I'm kind of personally squeamish about packing food in plastic, and it's aluminum, which also has the side benefit of it being completely indestructible. Like ours has gone down the stairs a few times when somebody's tripped while holding it, or they've chucked their bag, and it doesn't even have a dent in it. It looks as good as the day that I bought it. It's indestructible. It's also super easy to pack. I do have a couple other ones that they're good, they're great backups, but I personally, just as somebody who has to make the lunch every day, I personally prefer packing the Planet Box. And just because it's got really good portion-sized spaces, so I literally just have to stuff each spot in the box full, and there's been times where I've been sitting in my kitchen and I'm like, I have an empty spot, I don't know what to do, and I've just grabbed a bag of baby spinach out of the fridge and shoved it in the hole, and I'm like, great, done. Lunch made, right? So I just have to shove every spot full and close the lid, and he's good to go. He's got a complete lunch. It even has this little shallow spot for a small treat, so I usually just throw some fruit gums in there. But whichever box you choose, the big benefit of bento boxes, besides it not being difficult to pack, is that there's only one thing for your kid to open and close. So there's no lost lids. Most bento boxes have an attached lid. That is one thing that I would not compromise on, no matter what the brand. They don't have to open 10 things, right? Most preschools and kindergartens and some daycares even, you don't have a huge amount of time allotted for eating. So if they can't open and close their containers on their own, they have to wait for a lunch monitor to come and do it for them. Or they're going to spend half the time opening their 800 little containers, and then they have less time to eat. So no matter if they need to bring a lunch, snacks, they're on a balanced day, or if they just need to bring snacks, there is a bento box for every size, every appetite. So my tip number 2, get yourself a bento box. It's easier to pack, it's easier to open, and it's easier to keep track of. Tip number 3 is visuals. Visuals everywhere. Morning routine visuals are huge for making mornings run smoothly. No more nagging, just do the stuff in the order on the list. Backpack visuals. One of the best things that I did last year was make a visual list of all the things my son needed to bring home every day. So before he left, he would just quickly check that list and make sure that he had everything he needed. I laminated it and I put it on one of those little key rings. Most backpacks these days, his certainly does, have a little place for you to attach a key ring in the main pocket. So I attached it to that. So he had it hanging in his bag. It was easy for him to see. He couldn't lose it. And it was super easy for him to go, yes, 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 yes. To the same end, I had a list in our main entrance that had all the things that he needed to leave the house daily. Check it. Do you have everything that you need? Are you wearing all the gear that you need to be wearing? As a Canadian family, my children need toques and mitts and neck warmers and boots and a snowsuit most days of the school year, and that is a lot to remember. So by giving these visual lists and routines, we greatly reduce the amount of energy that they need to use to remember all this crap off the top of their heads, which means that they're more likely to do it, right? If there's anything that makes you want to go, oh my God, like, why can't you remember this? Make a visual for it. Okay? In Parentability, we have a whole library of ready-made visuals and a course on making custom ones for those times where you need something a little bit more tailored to your family. And all the visuals that I'm adding in August are centered around daycare / back to school / preschool transition. So that's tip number 3. Use visuals. They greatly reduce the amount of energy you need to use to get out the door in the morning and to come back at night. Hey, Mary Beth! Mary Beth says, amen, so true. So anxiety provoking when they can't independently open their stuff. It's so true, right? Like, I don't know about all schools, but I know like my son's school, they only have 20 minutes to eat. So if he spends 10 of that opening his containers, he's not eating anything. And he eats everything in his bento box every day. So I can only imagine how hangry and annoying he would be if he didn't have access to that. Okay, tip number 4 is to give your child a very nice wide berth when they get home for the next month or so. Restraint collapse is very, very real because your child is going to have to use their executive functioning skills. Either they haven't had to use much up until this point, or they're going to have to use them at a much higher level than they're accustomed to. They're going to spend a lot of energy at school. They don't have you compensating for them anymore. Even kids who've been in daycare, it's a huge downgrade in support. The ratio typically triples when you go from daycare setting to a school setting. So if you haven't been supporting them in developing and practicing using their executive functioning skills, and hell, even if you have, it's just going to be to a slightly lesser extent, they're going to be so done when they get home, like beyond done. These are not the days to be planning lots of after school activities. You know, having shit to get done after school, appointments, and like big full weekends. Not this month. They need a chance to decompress and recharge their batteries. Enjoy those last vestiges of summer weather by having relaxed evenings in the yard. Get them outside. But don't expect them to do a whole lot out there. Like, let them do what comes naturally to them, because that's probably what restores their energy the most. Last year, for the entire month of September, my son came home and he'd go down into our basement and turn off all the lights, and he would bury himself in our ball pit. Like, he needed total sensory deprivation. And he'd stay that way for over an hour sometimes. One evening I suggested, like, hey, let's it's a warm night, let's go to the beach. And he managed to haul himself out. And then we got to the beach. And then he went and he buried himself in the sand. And he stayed that way for like the entire evening, other than like he got up and went into the river a couple times and then came out and went right back into his hole. They're just so done, y'all. So align your expectations with that fact. It's going to reduce your stress a lot. And then once they've had that like 1 to 2 week adjustment period, you need to start becoming a skills detective and figuring out exactly what it is that is sucking so much energy so that you can help them build that skill up at home. And if you want guidance on doing that, again, come join us in Parentability. That is what we are all about. And we'll give you a step-by-step plan on how to figure out what skills are sucking so much juice and target those skills. If you're wondering what skills to look out for, my free misbehavior proof class outlines all of that for you, and the link for that is in the description somewhere around here. So what do you think? Are you doing these things? Did I give you some new ideas? When you look at your child's school prep as an exercise in energy reduction, do you see some opportunities to do that I didn't mention here? Let me know. I love hearing from y'all. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. I'm actually not going to see you next week because, as I said, my son is starting school next Tuesday, and it's going to be a very stressful day for everybody, not just because school is starting, but we're also still dealing with a parental absence. So I'm making the executive decision to reduce our stress by not hosting the MudRoom that particular evening. So we'll be back the second Tuesday of September. Jess says she wants to join the group. Great! Jess, I'll drop you a link as soon as I'm done here. Absolutely. All right, so I will see you soon for another Uncommon Sense parenting class. Bye!